Welcome back, guys. I'm Josh, and this is a beginner investor, Matthew. He wants to get started investing, and he's actually really passionate about this, like I am. So we're gonna introduce you, Matthew. What is your connection to me?
Hey guys, what's up? So I know Josh through Damien High School, and we actually ran on the same cross country team together.
What wanted you to get into investing, and what is your investing goals for the future?
Okay, so my investing goals is just to be financially secure, and I also want my money to work for me, so I don't have to worry about living paycheck to paycheck.
That's a valid goal. And then basically what I'm gonna do in a different video is we're actually gonna go over to Matthew's house and we're actually gonna help him put the money in the market. He has opened a Roth IRA, $5,000 in there, and he doesn't know how to invest it, or he's like doesn't want to mess anything up. So I'm gonna show him how to do it. Give him a couple of tips or suggestions, and then he's gonna be good to go for the rest of the time. And he's gonna ask me if he has any questions. So let's get straight into the interview process, Matthew. So I know you cooked a couple questions for me. So what is your first question you want to ask me today?
Okay, so my first question is, how do you decide whether a stock is worth buying, and what are some key factors you look at?
Mm. So it's a couple ways you can look at that question. So you basically look if it's a stock worth buying, but I'm gonna take that as like what stocks I like pick in the first place. So I'm gonna break it down really simply in my 4-step process and how I actually choose my stocks. So usually if I get an idea about a stock, anybody does, they actually have to get it from somewhere. You just don't think about it out of the blue. So you actually get these ideas from like somewhere online or something like that, or anywhere on the internet, because it's a great resource. But of course, you got to do your own research. So for my 4-step process, I like to think of United States large cap companies, because the United States market has been beating everybody else, and they're usually the most stable and have the most growth. That's being monopolistic, which means they have to have a competitive edge, like MasterCard or Visa. All the credit cards are either MasterCard or Visa. That means nobody else can get into the space, and they charge a percentage fee based on every single purchase to the business. So that means they don't have to do anything if they don't really want to. They get paid based on you just buying your Chipotle or buying your Target or your groceries every day. They get paid just by you buying that. And another example of a monopolistic company would be Amazon, because Amazon, if you're looking for a good quality company with reliable, fast shipping and return policies, then you go to Amazon. Obviously, you don't go to Temu or Alibaba. That takes low quality and it takes forever. The only other option I could potentially see is probably Walmart, because they have a good online platform, but they're mostly a retail store, so they're mainly competing with Target. So they're out of the option. And then of course you have like Uber, but that's really expensive to ship your groceries to you. So that's what I'm. So monopolistic United States companies. Next, we got to make sure they're actually growing. Example of a monopolistic company is probably like Procter and Gamble. They all like the reach. All the main brands you see, like 98 to 80% of them are actually made by Procter and Gamble, but they're actually not going to grow a lot. Like that's the main problem I see with new investors, is they invest into these too safe companies that aren't going to actually grow or don't have a lot of innovation technology, so they're not going to get me the return I want. So I'm staying away from those as a young investor, and you're a young investor. So we have United States companies, large monopolistic companies that are top dogs. We don't want to pick some that's an underdog, because top dogs usually keep winning because they're at the top of the market. And the growth, and next we look at value when I'm actually buying the stock. Usually, if it's a solid stock, then you want to buy it regardless. For example, if it's too overvalued, like Costco, it's one of the best stocks in the market, but it's really expensive because everybody loves this company, and they know it's recession proof because they paid a membership. That's why I didn't buy in the Costco when I started investing. Or for example, something that grows a lot, I believe is overvalued, something like Tesla or Palantir. There's a bunch of metrics you can use, but that's just like the general consensus right there. Any next question?
Okay, that makes sense. So I know you mentioned a lot of these top stocks, but they're very expensive. So is there a specific time you're looking for when to buy into their market?
Specific time. Technically, if you're first starting out, there's actually zero. You should not be timing it at all. For example, you have $5,000. For C, I'd recommend to put almost all of it in the market at once, because when you're first starting, that $4,000 at the beginning in your goals is not going to be anything compared to your multi-million-dollar portfolio when you get older. It's going to be a small fraction, and realistically, if you put all your money in once, it's going to beat putting your money in over time or trying to pick like 90% of the time. So that's why you just put it in. Doesn't matter what the company's valued at, as long as it's not a crazy valuation and it's a solid company, they're going to keep growing regardless. So I wouldn't, as a new investor, just if you find this company, just put it in. Just make sure they're a large cap U.S. monopolistic company and they have good, decent valuation. Doesn't even need crazy. The market's ran up so much that not a lot of companies are undervalued right now, and make sure they have decent growth. A good thing I look at is actually PE ratio, which is price to earnings. Something under 50, I'm gonna say, is not the greatest. Under 30, preferably, but it depends on the company. But it's something you can learn on your own. It's a really complicated process.
Thank you. So I also have another question. So obviously you're very knowledgeable when it comes to stocks. So where do you find your information and for your investment decisions, and how do you know it's reliable?
Oh, my investment, like so talking about my market news and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things I use. So one way you can use a community platform I use on my phone on Blossom. It's
Mhm.
basically a bunch of like-minded investors. Aren't It's not like some of the Reddit subs where it's just like our stocks to buy. It's actually a real platform with a lot of older people. I'm actually one of the youngest people on the platform, where they actually share their consensus and actually reasonable stuff on there, and actually have their whole portfolio on there. You can see anybody's portfolio, and even the top influencers. You can see what they hold. That's one way you can get ideas. But main way I actually get my market news every day is I get those. Sometimes you see those ads about like market or morning brew or something like that. Basically, I put my email into two of these. One is Yahoo Finance morning brief. Basically, any major news in the finance or investing sector is going to come into my inbox. I put both of them in a folder, and I'm going to read that if I have time in the morning, and it's going to break down all the investing stuff. And then two, I use morning brief, or I forgot it was morning brew. That's going to give me every other news, including investing news, like political news, any new like discoveries or whatever. Sometimes it gives me like if new species are found, random stuff like that. But it's just those two. If you have time, I don't read them every day. And then, are you talking about news specifically on a company? I use two websites probably are the best. Yahoo Finance, which is obviously the go. If you wanna, if you look up Yahoo Finance and search up any stock, there's going to be a list of different news articles. Those news articles may or may not be reliable, but I don't really base it too much. I don't invest basically on the news. I just look at the fundamentals. And if you another site for news is Bazinga, which you just look in a stock and it's going to tell you exactly why it's moving with different articles. Lastly, Simply Wall Street, which gives you company fundamentals in an easy to understand way with connected, which similar to Blossom, with connected users explaining their takes on it.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so my next question for you is, how much of your portfolio is individual stocks compared to like ETFs and cryptos? Like where do you like ratio that, and like how do you decide that?
It's all up to really personal preference. When I was really like an
Oh, okay.
when I was individual, and when I was a younger investor, I was like, I'm just gonna do half ETFs, half stocks. But for
Yeah, yeah.
a new investor like you that's just getting into it, I would probably recommend like 90% or 80% ETFs, and then it's really good for a new investor. And this is a hot take to actually do get into individual stocks if you want to get into investing, and not just because anybody can do an ETF investor. But if you really want to get into stock investing, take that like $500, $600, like the 10% of your portfolio, and put it into the individual stocks so you can actually monitor them and see how they do as kind of like a learning experience. For me, my Roth IRA is entirely almost single stocks up to that's like $10,000 because I'm confident in my ability to try to match or beat the market. And my non-taxable account is all ETFs. It's like what's exactly what I'm going to do for you. It's going to be growth. It's going to be baseline S&P 500, and it's going to be barely any dividends. I actually have no dividends, but for regular people who do like dividends, if you don't know what that means, do you know what dividends mean?
I don't.
Dividends is basically if there's like a dividend percent each stock or ETF, that's the percent of money. So if the stock's $100, you bond to it at the end of the year or quarterly, it's going to give you 3% of what it's worth, regardless of what happens in the market. But it's kind of like
Okay.
priced in because it's instead of the stock going up, it just gives you it directly, which is kind of good and
Yeah.
bad for like tax ways. So I'm not really a big dividend fan. Some people are.
Yeah.
Wait, Loki. Wait, what was the original question that you asked me again? Was it like wait, what was it again?
I was asking like how you ratio
Oh yeah,
your
ratio.
individual stock compared to ETFs.
Yeah. So, um, like I said, I do it. Mine's probably like 70-30 right now. 70 stocks, 30
Okay.
ETFs. I gonna
Yeah.
probably expand more ETFs because if I don't have enough money to put in my Roth, like it's maxed out. So basically how I do it, this is the ratio I go for. Roth IRA, entirely single stocks because I like single stocks. Why I do
Mhm.
this is because whenever you buy or sell in a taxable account, you get tax. You get capital gains taxed, and you can get income tax and short-term capital gain tax if you hold it under a year. So for a taxable account, you want to hold ETFs because I will never be selling them if one of the companies loses bad, like tanks or does bad fundamentals, right? Because it's hundreds of companies in this one ETF. So my strategy for my taxable is to never sell and to put it in over time. On my Roth IRA, it's non-taxable, so I can sell or buy whenever I want without paying taxes. So I take that to my advantage, and I put in single stocks, and I buy and sell there whenever I feel necessary without paying taxes.
Okay. Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. So since I'm a beginner and you're trying to help other beginners, one of my biggest concerns is there any like misconceptions or myths that beginners like us should have about or like should know about investing?
Yeah, there's a lot of myths. I'm gonna start with like my favorite one is that it's not like a
Okay.
myth; it's like a misconception. Is like it's
Yeah.
don't invest in safe companies or recession-proof companies, and especially if you're young, avoid dividends or
Hmm.
definitely avoid dividends. Basically, with these safe stocks, they're going to be safe, right? And they probably won't go down
Yeah.
as much in recessions. But that means for these safe, like Procter and Gamble and Johnson & Johnson, healthcare and consumer
Hmm.
cyclicals, basically what they do is they don't go down as much. They're more stable. But when you take this stable growth, you're missing out on the more growth. So just because a company is more volatile and goes up and down doesn't mean it's bad for an investor because over your years, over like your 30 years you're going to be investing, even if it dips all the way down, you can just use it as a
Hmm.
buying opportunity to buy into it. And it's going to like do much better than these safe stocks. So a lot of these safe stocks do have dividends, which means if they're a solid company, they actually pay the investor back with dividends like 3-1% of their total the total stock price. And this is really bad for regular new investors because these dividend stocks do usually pay are less in growth. So what you want to do is avoid this. So what I mean by this basically is there's dividend ETFs like SCHD, Charles Schwab's dividend ETF. Just stay away from that almost completely. If you were some if an investor really wanted to do dividends young, I'm not against it. Just have it a small proportion of your portfolio. Most of it in growth and the S&P 500, so like SCHG, which is what I'm going to help you put your money in, a growth ETF, and the baseline S&P 500, the top 500 portfolios. Sorry, top 500 stocks. So new investor, just stay away from safe companies. That's exactly what I did. I put my money in Johnson & Johnson when I was a new investor. I put my money in Procter & Gamble because I was super afraid of recessions. I even had on my profile the best way to make money in the stock market was to not lose money in the stock market. But that was totally a misconception because even though I was saving my money, my money wasn't going to dip in the recession as much. It wasn't going to go up as much. So I was losing on all these gains for quality, for um, just to be safe. Another
Yeah.
this is one of the worst things about the stock market is like a lot of the reasons for I see for like not to hate on dividend investors or like DCAing or like which is dollar cost averaging is a lot of these
Yeah.
strategies revolve around like peace of mind. So they're doing this strategy for one of the reasons they say they're doing this is because I can't stomach the dip or I do this so it reduces volatility because I don't want it to go around all over the place. But if you're investing
Yeah.
like this, you're missing out on growth. And if you're like worried about like all that in the first place, the stock market isn't probably the best places for you to put your money first place. So for the newest thing for new investors is to stomach the realization that your money will go down and sometimes you will lose half of your $100,000 portfolio, but it will go back up in the long term at 99.99999% of the chance as long as the world doesn't end. Invest in growth when you're
Hmm.
young and still invest in growth. I'm a growth investor.
Yes. Okay, so I have another question for you, and it's regarding like a book or like a podcast that we should that like people like us should look at, like beginners. Do you have any books or podcasts to recommend?
First podcast, Joshua Engel. I'm just kidding. No.
Of course, yeah.
Um, well, books and podcasts. Books are looking. A lot of people advocate for like the Rich Dad Poor Dad. That wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm okay in books, but like I like reading and entertaining stuff. So if you're
Yeah.
So I like having my take of entertainment and education. So I mainly use YouTube. If you're so for you as a young investor to get an idea of quality monopolistic companies and actually learn how to invest in the stock market, I'll recommend Joseph Carlson. He actually talks about individual stocks and market news all the time. I always watch him. He has 2 channels, Joseph Carlson and Joseph Carlson After Hours. Definitely subscribe to him if you want to actually learn how to do individual stocks the right way. A lot of his stock ideas I actually got from him. I love that's his number 1 channel. And for ETFs or investing, honestly, probably me. Not to sound like anything, but other great channels are like Marcos Milla. There's a lot of Call to Leap is another safe one. They do a slightly different style than I like to do, but there's a lot of most of the. If you look up ETF strategies like the 3 funds, they're basically almost all the same. Mine's a tiny bit better because it's a little bit cheaper and it grows more, but they're basically all the same. But for individual stocks, definitely go to Joseph Carlson and try to stay away from the videos like top 10 stocks to buy. They're entertaining, but like usually you probably shouldn't buy any of them. Joseph Carlson does have videos on that like best stocks to buy, but he like holds like 50, at least half of them. So he's putting his money where his mouth is, and his stock portfolio is like $500,000, almost $1 million. So I like him.
Okay. All right. So I have one last question for you. So obviously you're very transparent with your audience and community, and that's really good. So what do you hope that your audience takes away from your content in the end?
Well, sorry, before I get into, I forgot to mention one thing. Podcasts, Spotify. If you give Apple Music or Spotify, there's a ton of great things you can do. If you want to get caught up on the market and you don't want to read like the emails, like the market briefs or the market news on Spotify, you can there's a lot of great things super large companies that post market breakdowns every single day, like investing experts at Seeking Alpha, Monthly Fool. There's a ton of them on Spotify. To search up stock market brief in the morning. And sometimes if I have doing something and I just don't want to read it, I just listen to it instead. It's a little bit different, and then restate the question you were gonna ask me again.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, this is my last question for you, and it was basically, what do you hope that your audience takes away from your content? Like, what's your end goal for this channel?
Basically, my end goal, I'm posting another video today, is one of it was really a good example of this. Basically, what I want for my audience to figure out is for the younger people like you, of course, because a lot of people that do follow me I actually know personally. So what I want to do is actually explain to them why investing is it's one of the best ways. My number 1 way for a beginner to actually make money, and number 1 way for long-term wealth to actually make money in the long term. So I want everybody that hasn't gotten investing, I want them to jump into this and have a jump start with my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube. I'm just trying to be easily friendly. A lot of my stuff isn't as beginner friendly. So for my other audience that's already investing, I really want to give them the idea that I am a growth investor. I don't do dividends like that. Not yet, at least. And when you're young, I really want to give these ideas that you really want to grow, and the idea that you can stomach the risk and that you will. I sleep perfectly fine at night knowing that my stock portfolio could literally die at any point. I've gone through 50% losses when I was younger on companies I probably shouldn't have invested in, and I've came perfectly fine. The day is a day. I'm not really too attached to money. I do like when my portfolio does go up, but just don't stay too attached to it. It's literally going to be perfectly fine. Like, it doesn't really matter what happens at all. And another thing I wanted to iterate with my community is to always just stay away from these mainstream, sometimes stereotypical channels. Sometimes there's a lot of good ones, but some of them do invest the wrong way. And lastly, sorry, I know I'm rambling on, but I'm a growth investor and I'm a statistical investor. So I'm gonna invest in what's gonna give me the best returns statistically, and what strategies are have the highest chances of gains and backed by statistics. For example, I'll give you a quick example. So people do lump sum versus DCA. So what's that? So when you actually put your money in the market. So lump sum is when you put it all in at once. So you have 5K. So lump sum investing strategy, put it all in once. Dollar cost averaging is I'm putting in 1K this month, another 1K next month, or spread it out. Well,
Yeah.
lump sum wins 75% of the time. So as a statistical investor, the statistically correct way is to put it in all at once because it's usually gonna win. But I'm also a buy the dip investor, so I'm gonna hold a tiny percent of that in case it does go down and actually put it in over time. I said it wins 75% of the time, not 100%. So the other percentage we're gonna hold and put it in later over time when it dips. So do your research. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's all I have for you today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and so let me ask you another question. Is there any fundamentals or anything technical about investing in the stock market, or if you have any question, do you know what exactly how a Roth IRA works, or do you want me to explain it for you since you're actually going to be using this account for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Can you think you could go into some depth with the Roth IRA?
Yeah, of course. I know you had that question, but I was waiting for you to ask it, but I got you. Okay, so Roth IRA, basically, it's the best investing account in the entire world, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what it uses is it assumes that you work, or since you're going to be working, that's fine. But if you have a custodial account like you do, you actually don't need to work because your parents are signing off of it for you. So it's technically they have work. So it doesn't matter what you work at. The IRS assumes you make at least $7,000. So you can put maximum of $7,000 inside of the account. So, and it's technically post-tax, so it's already been taxed because of you're supposed to have income tax and capital gains tax on money you work in your 9-to-5 job. So in a usual investing account, you won't get taxed. Even if you made that money working and put it in, it won't be assumed as post-tax. So eventually, when your $10,000 or $100,000 turns into $1 million, you'll pay 30 or 35% tax on that $1 million, and your $1 million will turn into $750,000 or $500,000. You lose 50% of it. Roth IRA, it's assumed it's already taxed. That's why the $7,000 limit. It can grow to $1 million. You keep that $1 million raw. So you're automatically getting a free 30-50% gain just for doing literally nothing and knowing what to invest in. So that's basically how it works. $7,000 max. You don't have to do any work. It's one of my favorite investing accounts for young people too, because you don't have to do anything on your tax return, anything. Because as long as you don't take money out, you don't have to take money on a tax return. Also, very good misconception. A lot on the comments or on Blossom whenever I post something, they say, especially on my Roth IRA, how to Roth IRA video. Someone's like, but you can't take out the contributions, 59.5. I'm like, that's a very bad misconception. You can take out whatever you put in whenever you want, as long as you just tell your tax guy, or I just did this, get it done for me, please. So if you put in $10,000 and that grew to $20,000, you can take out $10,000 without any penalties because you put it in. It's not the gains, it's what you put in. You can take it out whenever you want. So that's part of my Roth IRA strategy. In 30 years, I will have put in 2,700 and sorry,
217,000.
Yeah. And I've made $1 million. So I'm not going to need 59.5, but if I start taking out 15 grand a year, I can do that for 10 years without getting taxed. And I haven't even hit 59.5 yet. So I'm going to have all that money just coming into me. And there's also more things, you can get $10,000. You can take out $10,000 of your gains for your first time home purchase, or for educational expenses, or for medical expenses. Just make sure to go to your CPA or tax guy to make sure you actually qualify for this. So you can take out, you will never have to worry about taking out. You can take it out basically whatever amount of money you want, as long as you don't go into your gains.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's all the questions you have for me, right?
Yes, that is.
Yeah. Was I talking, or did you actually learn anything today?
I did, but I'm a huge fan of your content, bro. Thank you so much for helping me out. Yeah, and I hope you help out other people too, because it's good. You're teaching good stuff here.
Thank you. Yeah, I always want to help out. I always want to help out other people. So yeah, just let me know if you have any questions, and if you whatever day you're free, just let me know. I'll head on over to your house, and then we'll actually put it in the market. I'll explain to you everything there, just to make sure you're okay with it, and then you'll be posed to hold. Wait, I'm gonna do the calculations really quick. So you put in $5,000. Wait, compound interest. I'm gonna go to compound interest calculator. Okay, so the compound interest calculator, you're gonna put in $5,000. Monthly contribution. Let's say you put in 0, and you're gonna for 40. So you're not even. So you're gonna be like 50 after this. So when you hit 50, and if you let's say you put this $5,000 in and you did nothing else, you would have $226,000 if you did this. Put that 5,000 in and did nothing else by age like 50. So that's awesome. Of course,
That's insane. Yeah.
yeah, but of course you keep putting money in and you keep maxing out, you're gonna have millions of dollars really
Yeah.
quickly. Well, I mean quickly, I mean like 30 years, but that's not.
Yeah.
That's whatever. But anyway,
Mhm.
thanks for watching, guys. That's Matthew. I'm gonna help him out, and I can help you out too. Just hit that subscribe button and follow me. So have a nice day, guys. Have a nice day, Matthew.
Thank you, you too.